this question, we are being asked to convert something from standard form into vertex form by completing the square. So just a reminder, this is what standard form and vertex form look like. I'm starting off with ax squared plus bx plus c. In this case, y equals x squared plus 12x plus 32. So in this case, a is 1, b is 12, and c is 32. And I want to write it in vertex form. The nice thing about vertex form is I can see what the vertex is just by looking at it. It requires way less steps than standard form. Standard form, I would need to factor, find the x-intercepts, find the axis of symmetry, and then find the vertex. So this is a lot faster, even though it's going to seem slightly tricky at first. Make sure you're writing this down. If you're watching this video twice, maybe watch it the first time and then watch it the second time and copy it down, because it's a little bit challenging at first, but with practice, it's essentially the same steps every time. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to go from this form into this one. And you'll notice here I have x minus h squared. So what I have here is something must have been a perfect square trinomial for it to have factored like that. If I have x minus h, this is my x and this is my h. So it actually looks like this. This is my x and this is my h. For it to have factored like this, that means somewhere along the way, I must have had a perfect square trinomial in order to factor it like that. So keeping that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the first two terms as they are because a is 1, so I don't need to do anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a trick, and the trick is to take the b value. So in this case, my b from standard form was 12. b is 12. I'm going to take b, divide it by 2, and then square it. This you have to remember. So b divided by 2, and then square it. So in this case, b is 12. So 12 divided by 2 squared gives me 12 divided by 2 is 6 squared, and 6 squared is 36. So I'm going to copy the equation the same way, but after the first two terms, I'm going to take the 36 and I'm going to say plus 36 minus 36 plus 32. So all I did was, when I calculated this, I inserted it between these two terms, plus 36 minus 36. The reason I did that is plus 36 minus 36 is 0. So really, I haven't changed the equation at all. What I have done, though, is this part right here is now a perfect square. This is square, and this is square. So because this is a perfect square now, I can factor it. So this is x squared plus 12x. 36 written as a square, as a power, is 6 squared. And then I can simplify this part. Negative 36 plus 32 is negative 4. So I can factor this part. And keeping in mind factoring perfect square trinomials, it gives me x plus 6 squared minus 4. That is vertex form. The vertex here is my h and my k. Vertex is hk, so here my h is negative 6. Remember, it's always opposite. And my k is negative 4. That's my vertex. So that would be that lowest point right here. That's a vertex. All right, next example. You'll notice in all of these examples and in your homework questions for this week, the coefficient of x squared is always going to be 1. We'll take a look next week at what to do when there's a whole number, another number there. But in all of these cases, a equals 1. So let's take a look. we have x squared minus 3x plus 7, and we need to put it in vertex form. So I'm going to use the same strategy as I did in the other question. I'm going to take my b divided by 2 and then square it. So in this case, my b is the -3. Now I really don't need to write the negative sign here because it's going to be squared anyway, so it's going to become positive, but that's okay. So -3 divided by 2 is -1.5 squared. And when I put that into a calculator, again, positive, negative, doesn't matter. When you're squaring it, the answer is positive. You get 2.25. So that is what I'm going to add and subtract after the first two terms. 1, 2, and then add and subtract this. So that gives me x squared minus 3x. Now I'm going to add and subtract plus 2.25 minus 2.25 plus 7. Okay, so here I have a perfect square trinomial. Just by looking at it, you might not be able to see it, but I know it is because this strategy will always create it. So x squared minus 3x plus square root of 2.25 is 1.5. Okay, that's my perfect square trinomial. And I'm going to simplify this part. So negative 2.25 plus 7 is -4.75. Now I can write this in factored form, and I get x minus the base over here, 1.5 squared, and that is on the outside, 4.75. So to state the vertex of this question, it is now in vertex form. My vertex is my h, which is 1.5, comma, my k, which is -4.75.